Hey guys! Welcome to another episode of Bedtime Stories with May. Today, I would like to tell you a story about facing adversities. I think in this time of COVID crisis, this may be something that many of you needed to hear, especially for maybe your children who wouldn't understand the crisis and wouldn't understand why we need to go through challenges, why we need to brave through tough times. Hopefully, this story would help them as well, okay? So today, I actually have a couple of props with me. I have an egg, a jar of tea leaves, and also a potato, okay? So here goes the story. Once upon a time, there was a little girl who came back from school crying. She was only 7 years old and she just started school. And she wouldn't understand why she needed to go to school. She wouldn't understand why her parents put her through that trauma of going to a very strange foreign place, learning things that she do not understand yet, instead of leaving her at home playing with her newborn puppy. So as she was running back into the kitchen, she came towards her father and she cried and said, "Daddy, I'm not going to school anymore. Don't make me." And then she poured her heart out and she was crying, poured her heart out to her father, describing very vividly why she cannot go back to school anymore, why she wouldn't go back to school anymore. And her father lovingly comforted her and sat her down and says that we need to go through situations that we do not like sometimes in order to change who we are. So she couldn't understand what that means. For a 7-year-old girl, she couldn't grasp the concept of why some change is necessary and why some change is good for us. So her father said, "Okay, let's do this. Go around the kitchen and find these 3 items: a potato, an egg, and some tea leaves." Okay? So she did, scrambled around the kitchen and found these 3 items and came back to her father. When she came back, her father asked her, "So which of these 3 items do you think is the strongest?" So she says, she looked at the 3 things and said, "Well, of course, the potato." So why a potato? Because the potato grew up from the ground, it can withhold dirt, it is hard, and it looks more sturdy than a fragile egg, and it looks way more sturdy than some loose leaves. So the father said, "Okay, so if that's your point of view, let's put them through some challenges." So the father had a pot of water boiling there and said, "Well, this is a challenge that we need to put all your 3 items through." So in goes the potato, in goes the egg, and another pot was the leaves. And then the father told the child and says, "Look at the potato. Once hardest, withholding dirt and all, now softened to a mush when it goes through adversity, which is the hot water. And look at the egg. When the little girl thought the egg was the most fragile, instead it became hardened. Even when you peel off its shell that's protecting it, it has hardened into a hard-boiled egg." That's what happens when some people go through adversity. They become hardened. But the interesting part is, what about the loose tea leaves? What happens to them when they go through adversity? They change the adversity. They turn the situation into something entirely different. They turn hot water into tea. And then daughter realized, so who am I, Daddy? Which one am I? Am I the potato? Am I the egg? Or am I the tea leaves? And the father told her to say, who we are in different adversities is entirely up to us. We can choose to be a potato who goes soft and mushy in certain adversity. We can choose to be like an egg which hardens itself. Or we can choose to be the tea leaves which takes advantage of the adversity and change the situation to something entirely different. So there, my friends, which are we during this COVID-19 crisis? Are we becoming potatoes, worrying about our future, grumbling, complaining, turning ourselves into mush? Or are we an egg? Do we harden ourselves so much that even when the shell is peeled off, we are just hardened to a point that some becomes bitter? Are we an egg? Or are we the tea leaves who takes advantage of this crisis, the situation, and turn water to tea, turn the situation into an opportunity that we can leverage on? So I leave you at that to reflect, which of these three items do we choose to be during these tough times? As always, before we end this session, let's do a small gratitude exercise. Think about a situation today that made you feel so grateful. You got it? And in that situation, who are the people that come to mind? It can be your family members, your neighbors, it can be someone virtual, your colleague, it can even be your pets at home. Think about the situation and the people and say thanks, wholeheartedly say thanks for their existence in your life and for being able to experience that positive moment despite whatever else that has happened today. And with that, my friends, this is good night. I'll see you tomorrow in another episode of Bedtime Stories with May. Bye!